for. I'm waiting for...
Have we got any more?
Just us? This is us? Once? Right.
Surely, if we get you seated on the chair, like you, and then Belinda maybe sit on the chair.
We'll look over. Yeah, maybe we could be Emma. Maybe this could be the future. Quick draw, brilliant.
James, can you stand behind closer together?
Like that?
Yeah, like really close together.
That's what guys throw ahead. Head over this way, please.
Go ahead, guys. Straight ahead, please.
Well, to this end, please.
Have we got more seats turning up?
Well,
We've lost a couple along the way. So we're the troopers. Sorry, I lost a few.
Have we got more?
That's it, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
As I told you.
sorry.
Lisa, you sit on the arm, the other arm with. Reach in the middle. Can you actually sit on the back of that? Sit on the back of that. Climb over, and then just put your, just lean forward into that gap. Guys, straight ahead. Everyone to the back. Right to the back, ready? Straight in the middle, seated down there. In the middle. Straight ahead, please. Straight over there, please, guys. Girls. To the back, please. Everybody, just over this way. That's it. Straight this way. Yeah, that's great. One, two. Right, can we break it down to singles for some PR? PR?
PR is this big. A few single shots, do you right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Ladies first?
Shirley,
Ladies.
should we start with you first?
Yeah. If you could bring it forward first, right?
Hold on, let me bring it first. You've got a load of scaffolding. Build it back. Straight to the back. Stop at this end. That would be great. Thank you.
Fabulous, thanks, Joey.
these fantastic poses. I just stand.
That's the front piece, the middle piece. Straight ahead, down the bottom in the ribs.
You'll see one lovely.
Okay, one seat.
Yeah.
It's the most uncomfortable seat ever. What we need is a rocking chair, really, don't we? Not so much best in the 80s, more in the 80s.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. You're on next, John, man.
Hi, Jason. Jason, stand up.
Yeah, really good.
Straight ahead. Just a little piece down to the front. Right down this end. Jason, straight down the middle. What is like this? Jason, straight back to the middle, please, sir. Jason, straight. And now sit it down. One sit down, please.
And who's, sorry, who?
I'm Hilary from Associated Press.
Okay, great.
So this goes out all around the world.
Okay, fantastic.
Brilliant. Just get everything set up for you. Okay, good. Oh, we're all rolling. So what was the appeal of doing this for you?
I think I'm putting out an 80s record in the next few weeks. So to that extent, this was an opportunity to sort of really capitalise on that moment as well. Tony, the promoter, had been hassling me for a number of years. I felt the 10th anniversary was a good enough reason to sort of do it. And then, you know, I think to a certain degree, you know, sort of move on from the 80s after that. So, you know, certainly not my last tour, but, you know, one could hope that the story goes beyond just this period after that.
So it's kind of going out with a bang, celebrating the decade, and then finally...
Yeah, I think there is an emotional connection. You know, again, I found that with this record, you know, particularly from the songs that I've recorded on the record. And, you know, the 80s is quite fashionable at the moment. And so this tour really is an opportunity to sort of, you know, enjoy that period and you know, underline it a little bit without having to watch tour figures and, you know, that sort of process, because as a one-man band, which I normally am, I'm involved with every single process. I just get up and do my gig and obviously talk to the media. So
yeah, so are you quite enjoying being part of a big team then? Do you know everybody?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm familiar with the faces. I put this off for a while. I felt that it possibly wasn't right for me, but now I think it is. And again, it takes a little bit of the pressure off. I can enjoy this one.
So are you looking forward to being on tour with lots of other people?
Yeah, I am. I'm looking forward to sharing my experiences with people who are going to share very similar experiences to me.
Brilliant. I've got a couple of 80s questions for you, obviously. What do you think is the biggest misconception about the 80s?
That I wore a mullet haircut. That in fact that it was not really my own hair. That it was fake. No. That I don't know, what is the biggest misconception of the 80s? I think that because it was very theatrical and because it was sort of quite glam and it was quite creative and, poppy, that it didn't have a lot of substance to it. Look at me, I'm full of substance, So I think to that extent, it was definitely, misconstrued. And I think there's some great songs. Again, this record that I've got coming out is testament to that.
How about the extravagance? Because we always think of it being quite an indulgent decade. Do you remember getting a helicopter home and things like that?
My royalties weren't quite favourable enough for me to do things like that. I kept myself pretty much with my feet on the ground, Obviously I enjoyed the moments, but, I was brought up by parents who were quite realistic, enjoy the moment, but, don't take advantage of it at the same time. So, no, and I came at the end of the 80s, my period was sort of late 80s.
So you didn't blow lots of money on silly clothes or anything?
No, on other things, but I think that's quite well documented, yeah.
Yes,
and that wasn't the 80s.
Okay. And finally, stupid question. Halloween's coming up. What would you wear to a Halloween party?
A Halloween costume. My kids are really what I focus on for Halloween, and they'll go the whole 10 yards.
Brilliant.
So yeah.
What do they like getting dressed up as?
Oh, anything that's sort of, we can sort of mix and match. It's an American tradition probably rather than Australian or English, but I think. We'll have the pumpkins and we'll certainly have... When is it? What is the date?
31st of October.
Is it? Wow, it is quite close. Oh, that's going to be fun.
I love it when the kids get dressed up.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, and, it's a great spirit. So, yeah. I know a couple of people, friends of mine, who permanently live in Halloween costumes, actually.
What, Gothic? Yeah, that'd be better. No, sorry, we're very close, but it looks better with this room. Is that better? Good, great. So what was the appeal for you in doing this tour?
Tony had actually asked us to do the tour a few years ago, and I kind of told him I'd retired from that. I don't really do that type of a thing anymore. And basically, my kids have kind of grown up, and my son had just passed his test earlier this year. And I remember having this kind of day where I sat there and kind of reassessed things, thinking, I'm redundant. I've lost my purpose. My children don't need me anymore. They could just go out. And I had a day where I kind of sat and felt a bit reflective and a bit sorry for myself. And then the day after, Tony, the promoter, called me again and said, look, I know you said no before, but are you interested in doing our 10th anniversary here and now next year? And I said, you know what? How many songs do we have to do? He said, come and do 3 songs. And I said, okay, let me call Pepsi, because Pepsi lives in St. Lucia. So I called her, because I was kind of quite positive. I had a good vibe about it. And she said, why not? Let's have fun. And also the previous year, my husband had played the O2 with Spandau Ballet. And I just thought, no, he's not going to be the only one in the family who's done the O2. So a bit of rivalry, I guess.
Brilliant. I remember seeing you actually on the HMS Belfast. When
Oh
they
right! Oh
launched
my
the
God,
thing.
how hot was that?
It was really hot. And
Cluster-
it
it's
was
hotter than here.
Very crazy as well. so I
Yeah, it's
don't
really
like heights.
claustrophobic. Yeah.
So did kind of watching him go out and play then, that really did
Saying
kind
that, on the time when Spandau were on tour, if I had £1 for every time someone said, "Do you bet you want to be there?" I was just like, no, not really, it doesn't really, it's nice. I was really happy for Martin and the whole of Spandau because they were fantastic and they looked like they were I thought, what a great job. There is no better job. And I guess, I think it must have opened something up because I didn't think I'd be doing this. So, excuse
how
me.
are you going to prepare if Pepsi's in St Lucia?
That is the problem. There will be no preparation, but we're very good at spontaneous combustion reaction. We'll ad-lib it. We'll find. We've been working together long enough. I think it's like riding a bike. Once you get on, it'll just happen.
And do you know everyone else on the tour? Have you kind of crossed paths?
Well, I've just met Jason, who's very nice. I've known Midge from a long time ago, but I haven't seen him in about 20 years maybe. Obviously Boy George, I knew him in, just bumping into him in very, very early 80s. Just met Belinda, who's lovely, and that's what I've met so far. So no, I feel like a newcomer because they've all done it before. So.
And you're excited about kind of going out where you're all kind of sharing?
Yeah, it really takes the pressure off because when you're just doing a show, like when Pepsi and I remember touring America once, and we were just so physically tired, and you think, oh God, I've got to do a show tonight. But now I'm thinking, even if I'm tired, it doesn't matter because, there's so many more acts to come on. But I'm sure I won't be tired. I will be fit and ready to go. But yeah, I really like the idea. I could get into this.
Right, I've got some questions that I'm asking everybody. So
Okay.
What do you think is the biggest misconception about the 80s?
I don't know what could be the biggest misconception. Well, I guess they say that it was opulent, but not really. I think people did things on the cheap that made look opulent, So I don't know. For me, it's very hard because when you're involved in it as well, I don't feel I have the perspective that people on the outside of the 80s would have had because I was kind of too insular with it. I had my, went from Wham to my husband's band, so I didn't really socialise in a big way in the 80s. But for me, I guess it was working class people getting rich quick. But that was true.
So that actually happened?
Yeah.
You were kind of poster girl, really, at the time.
Was I?
So, with the kind of opulent thing, did you ever do anything ridiculously extravagant? Did you get a helicopter home or...? Well,
I just remember flying was no problem. And if I was in one country and it started raining, I remember going on holiday. I think when I was in France and the weather was really miserable. And I just remember looking at my husband saying, he was only my boyfriend then, let's go to Miami. So we just got up and, bought tickets. Forget how much we paid in this beautiful hotel in France. But maybe all young people do that. Maybe, I wouldn't do that now. I bet you did it when you in your 20s. I don't know, you might be in your 20s, sorry.
No. If I go on holiday and it rains, I'm stuck there for a week while it's raining.
Yeah, no, I was very quick to move. If the weather wasn't good, I'd follow the sun. Sun worship of the 80s, of course. All the 80s people were sun worshippers.
Yeah, that's very true. And the hair and makeup, I mean, it's kind of come back in cycles. But
Yeah.
do you think that they've kind of picked the best bits out to recycle? Because some of the stuff was quite shocking.
Some of it was just so messy because obviously I've been kind of looking up 80s and it's all that backcombing mess with the floppy clothes. I mean, what is it about? It's kind of like a bad Andy Pandy look. I don't get it. So not the most attractive look.
I've got a final bit of I've got two questions for you then. First, the silly one. What would you wear to a Halloween party? Do you and the kids go?
Oh yeah, I've always do Halloween parties.
Oh, sorry.
I have been Bones, skeleton, but halfway through the night, so you have to wear the whole black costume with white bones. And then I suddenly thought I was an ape because I felt like I was dressed, and I was walking around like this, going. And my son said, "What are you doing?" He said, "You're acting like a monkey." But I kind of mentally thought, because I was in this costume, that I was a monkey. So yeah, I do. I lived in America for a few years, so believe me, Halloween out there is amazing. So I always dress up.
Brilliant, that's great. Final serious question. Have you had any contact with George Michael at all?
Yeah. I
How's
thought
he
you could say
doing?
if I got contact lenses. A personal question.
Have
you got contact?
lenses?
No. Got my eyes at me?
Okay, I'm glad you said that's great.
Yeah, George is doing really, really well, and he's out next week, so that's fantastic.
Has he felt a lot of support? Because everyone seems to be...
Yes, absolutely. He knows he's got a lot of support around him, a lot of good friends like me.
And was he kind of aware that he was probably going to go to prison for a bit?
You know what, I'm not sure. He didn't worry about it or speak about it, so I'm sure it was in the back of his mind.
Brilliant. Oh, I hope he's all right.
Thank you.
That's great. It's nice to talk to you.
That's cool.
Was it in shot all the other ones?
No, it was just towards the end. It's fine now.
I was getting overexcited with it. So, we all running?
Yeah.
So what was the appeal? Because you've done...
I've done these before. I mean, the appeal to me was that it was a 10th anniversary and I was in the first one. And for me, it's always fun to do. It's easy, actually. Doing a half an hour set of just hits and no filler. It's fun to see the audience reaction. For them, it's an evening of instant gratification. And I like the festive atmosphere. Everybody's beyond ego at this point in their careers, I would think. And it's good, no pressure. It's a lot of fun. It's short and sweet. I don't like slogging it out on the road anymore. So there's a lot of things to like about this.
So are you quite happy just playing kind of the hits that everyone wants to hear?
Well, I mean, I do all sorts of things with my work. This is just one of the sort of facets. But for me, yes. I mean, but I do shows with my French album that I had out a couple of years ago, and all sorts of things. This is just one of the things and I like it. It's fun.
Because you were going to go. Was there a Go-Go reunion tour?
There was. We've worked together. We just broke up actually. Finally, after there was a farewell tour that was scheduled, but one of the girls fell off a cliff. I love saying that. So dramatic, but it's true.
That's Jane.
And yeah, and she wrecked both of her knees, so the tour was canceled. But we have a star. We just got a star in Hollywood Boulevard, the Walk of Fame. So I think we'll probably do one last show around that. So I did work with them. It was never a reunion. It was just an ongoing thing that everybody kept calling a reunion.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. So what are these tours like then when you're on the road, as you've been on them before? Everybody gets on well?
Yeah, everybody's fine. It's very supportive. People are very supportive of each other. It's some of us know some of us we've worked together before through the years, and we know each other, and it's good. It's good. We don't travel together. We travel separately. So the only time we ever see each other is at the shows and maybe after.
And what are the fans like? You said it's like instant gratification.
Yeah, they love it. I mean, all ages, instant gratification. They love it. They don't have to sit through, boring stuff, frankly. So they love it.
And I mean, 10 years ago, I can't believe it was 10 years ago, the first one of these. I remember it being launched. Did you think it was going to be so popular? Well, I mean, the whole genre of music is the sort of 80's revival has been ongoing for 10 years. And it doesn't really surprise me. I think it's the last great decade of music where the music had a sound and a look, and like the 60s or 50s. They just, the music sort of transcends music and becomes other things. So I think the 80's was probably the last decade of that. How bad is that noise?
It's fine. Yeah.
Is it? Okay, because otherwise I'll go in and tell them to stop moving the furniture around. Brilliant. A couple of questions I'm asking everyone. What do you think is the biggest misconception about the 80's?
I don't understand that people think that the fashion is so great. It's horrible. Horrible. That's the misconception, that it was a great decade for fashion. I think it's hideous.
Do you remember some shocking outfits that you
wore?
wore?
Yeah, I had plenty, believe me. Plenty.
Any that stand out in your mind?
I think the worst one was my pink Indian outfit, where I had pink moccasins, pink tights, pink headband, cut a pink t-shirt,
up, and at the bottom of the T-shirt I fringed and wore as a fringe around. It's horrible. I mean, at the time I thought it was cute, but I think we all do that. We all think something looks so great at the time and look back and just realize it wasn't so great.
How about the kind of indulgence and the extravagance that everyone associates with the 80s?
Well, I mean, that indulgence just went up 2 decades past that too for me. So, well, you know, it's. I think it was interesting because that's kind of when it all. Well, actually, the late '70s was Studio 54. It kind of started with that. So, and it just kind of carried on, and some of us just carried on longer than the 80s for a while. So, yeah, it's interesting is that it has a lot of decadence attached to that decade. There's a lot of decadence attached to that decade, yes, for sure.
Did you ever, like, get ridiculously extravagant, like flying a helicopter somewhere?
Yeah, I did. I spent all my money I ever made as a go-go on racehorses, on drugs, on first-class tickets at the drop of the hat to Tokyo to go visit friends. I mean, yeah. I mean, I was guilty of that.
Somebody else has said that today as well, pretty much spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
Final silly question. Halloween's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? What would you wear to a Halloween party?
I don't. Well, I'm lazy when it comes to, as you can see, having to dress up. The last time I dressed up, I was a women's gym teacher. I had a men's toupee and wore a T-shirt tucked into gym shorts and trainers. It was hideous. No makeup. So that's about all as I'll do. Is that I won't dress up because it's a pain in the ass.
Brilliant, thank you very much. It's great. I'm now always going to think of you as Pink Indian.
A Pink Indian. Yeah. Bye.
Thank you very much. Throughout the interviews, I'm just getting closer and closer. I'm trying to restrict myself from moving. Cool. I'm ready. Okay, great. So, why are you involved with this 10th anniversary one?
I did one about 5 years ago. And they're immensely good fun. You know, they're not overly serious. They're hit laden. They're stupid value for money, and they're painless for the artist, which is tantamount to it's fantastic. It makes it nice and easy. You know, you walk on there, you've got a great house band, and you play 4 or 5 hits, whatever it happens to be, and then someone else goes on and does the same thing, non-stop for 3 hours. It's great.
It sounds like something. I mean, would you go and see it yourself?
You know, I'm not sure. I'm a bit of a muso fan. I would go and see a band that I absolutely love because I want to hear all the interesting album tracks and the B-sides and the obscure things and the guitar solos and all of that. And it's not really about that. I think it's a tour for the masses. You know, this is a tour for people who've grown up hearing these songs on the radio, who were either there when those songs were written or, they've just heard them every day of their lives. And to go along and see the artist perform, it's kind of like I suppose like a live human jukebox in a way, So I would go and see oddities. That's my particular taste. This is for people who just are generically into music.
And would you say it's pretty ego-free?
Yeah, I think it can be. I don't think there are any real egos involved. Although I suppose being an artist, you've got to have some kind of ego, bubbling away underneath there somewhere. I haven't seen it. I haven't experienced it. I haven't seen any tantrums in the previous shows, but I can't imagine there's going to be any. We all know each other. You can't kid a kidder. We're all capable of throwing tantrums, but hopefully we won't.
I only just kind of realised, obviously, it's probably obvious in hindsight, that you all travel separately. In my head, you're all on a big bus together. That doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah, it's a tour. It's not a holiday camp. No. We're not all travelling together because I think that would be a major bone of contention. While you're sitting in the bus waiting while someone else is packing their bags, or they've forgotten their toothbrush, or they've left it, that would drive you crazy. We all travel separately. We all turn up at the venues on time. Because, believe it or not, we're all semi-professional now.
Yeah, exactly. And you've done these tours before, haven't you?
I've done one tour before. I've done a variety of Here and Now concerts peppered throughout the country.
Ah, right, okay. Now, I need to ask you a couple of 80s questions. What do you think is the biggest misconception about the 80s?
Biggest misconception about the 80s is that all the bands all looked and sounded alike. The media at the time just tarred anyone who had a synthesizer or smart clothes with the same brush. And they said, oh yeah, you know, Culture Club or Duran or Spandau or, you know, Depeche Mode or Ultravox or Visage were all the same. And of course they weren't. When you look back at it and you listen to what all those artists were doing, they're all very different from each other. It was an incredibly inspiring, creative period in music, just the same way as it was in the 60s, I suppose, for the Beatles and the Stones and Jerry and the Pacemakers. And it was an incredibly vibrant period, and some great things came out of that, not just musically, but socially. It was a really tough time. Everyone thought that all the artists were all rich and flamboyant, you know, the Blitz kids, you know, because they all looked smart. They didn't realise that people were going out and just going to, you know, thrift shops and buying old dead men's suits, you know, and just making the most of what they had, because it was right in the middle of Thatcherism, and people kind of forget that. So it wasn't all about rich and how much money you had. It was about making the most of your life at that moment in time, and that inspired the movies, the design, the art, and the music.
A couple of the girls, well, the two girls have mentioned that they did get a little bit indulgent with like picking up and flying off and things like that. I mean, were you ever tempted to do that? Did you ever do anything extravagant?
I suppose my most extravagant thing was, you know, you've got to remember that, you know, probably back then we were all young, free and single, doing everything that someone young, free and single with money and success could do. So at one point I had a huge garage with a recording studio underneath the garage, and the garage had a variety of classic sports cars. I was a very stylish character in my young years, and I had these beautiful old Porsches and old Mercedes and old Jaguars, and none of them would start in the morning so that I could get to the airport. So I had to go out and buy a little Volkswagen Golf because it was reliable. So yeah, extravagance was kind of part of it. You get sucked into that stuff, but you realise it's all just stuff.
Brilliant, I love that. At the end you have to get a Golf. And final question, what would you wear to a Halloween party? This is because we've got Halloween coming up, obviously.
What would I wear to a Halloween party? I could probably some of the things that I wore in the 80s. You know, everyone's got you know, a photograph album, and if you dig back far enough, you'll find something that you thought was really cool at the time that just looks incredibly stupid.
Are you thinking of anything in particular?
No, I'm thinking of everything Duran ever wore.
A lot of like white blousey things. I still, when you see that video at the time, I just thought it was amazing. You look back at it now and you think, oh my God. Belinda was saying,
what were we doing?
Yeah, Belinda was saying she wore a pink Indian outfit with like moccasins and shredded everything pink head to toe with the headband. I thought it was brilliant at the time.
It probably was at that moment in time, for that day.
I don't remember you wearing anything shocking.
No, there are things that you kind of, you know, you think, where was my sanity when I did it? The little pencil moustache was a bit dodgy for a while, but I thought that was really cool at the time.
Brilliant, that's lovely. Thank you very much. That was great.
Good. How long will you make it to your next?
Yes, yeah.